There's a stillness in the vineyard just before the harvest begins, a kind of quiet tension in the leaves. You feel it under your boots, in the weight of the clusters, in the way the sun moves across the canopy. The grapes are ripe, their sugar levels tested, their acidity balanced. And once the decision is made, there's no turning back. The harvest is a race against heat, time, and decay. It's a culmination of precise pruning, irrigation, canopy management, and pest control, all of it aimed at this narrow window when the fruit is at its absolute peak. You don't get to do it twice. And whether you farm 100 acres in the Central Valley or manage a boutique vineyard in the Adelaide Hills, the pressure is the same. Get the fruit in, keep it clean, and preserve its potential. This is not simply picking grapes. This is preserving quality in motion. Grapes don't wait. The ripening process isn't just about bricks, it's about phenolic development, about skin texture, seed maturity, and flavor balance. Depending on your varietal, that target window can be just a few days wide. Wait too long, and you'll see sugar spike and acids plummet. Pick too early, and you'll leave behind complexity, mouthfeel, structure. So every harvest decision starts in the rows, in the field, with your boots in the dust and your hands on the fruit. You assess not just numbers, but feel how the berries come off the stem, the bite of the skin, the crunch of the seed. This is where data meets instinct. In mechanical harvesting, efficiency is everything. Whether you're running a Pellenc, Gregoire, or Oxbow unit, your calibration determines your crop's future. Shaker frequency, raw spacing, head height, all of it must be dialed precisely to your trellis and varietal. Loose clusters like Pinot Noir or Grenache bruise easily, while tighter bunches like Cabernet Sauvignon can tolerate more aggressive settings. If you're working on a VSP vertical shoot positioning system, the machine must approach from the center line with minimal canopy disruption. But even with perfect setup, you're always managing risk. Berry rupture means juice in the bin, which means oxidation, microbial exposure, and the threat of off flavors unless that load moves quickly. For many operations, the choice is still hand harvest, particularly for premium varietals or smaller blocks. Crews start before sunrise, headlamps cutting through the vine rows. Snips click rhythmically in the dark. Crates fill slowly but deliberately, each bunch handled with minimal disturbance. Handpicking costs more and takes longer, but it preserves the integrity of the cluster. There's less mog material other than grapes, fewer stems and leaves, and drastically lower chances of splitting. If your fruit is destined for whole cluster fermentation or sparkling wine production, hand harvest isn't optional, it's foundational. But the harvest isn't just about the method. It's about timing your logistics down to the hour. If temperatures rise above 80 degrees Fahrenheit 26 degrees Celsius during picking, phenolic compounds begin to shift. Tannins soften prematurely. Aromatics dull. In hotter climates, this means running at night, hauling cold bins under headlights, sometimes hauling multiple loads before 10 a.m. Cold fruit gives you more control at the crush pad. It ferments slower, oxidizes less, and retains varietal character. That's why many growers now pair field harvest with mobile chilling units or pre-cooled trucks, especially when transporting more than 50 miles from vineyard to winery. Yield variability is another factor. Even with consistent irrigation and balanced nutrition, block-to-block variation can be dramatic, especially in dryland vineyards or uneven terrain. Your estimates from Verizon might miss by 15 to 20%, so flexibility in harvest labor and haulage is critical. Too little crew and you'll lose ripe fruit to over-ripening. Too much crew, and you're burning wages waiting on bins to clear. This is where drone imagery and NDVI normalized difference vegetation index mapping can offer a modern edge, guiding you not just where to pick, but when. Then there's disease pressure. If your late summer was humid or wet, you're likely watching for botrytis, powdery mildew, and sour rot. A clean canopy and a tight spray schedule help, but the true challenge is minimizing contact time post-infection. Grapes with fungal load must be processed immediately. Every hour on the trailer allows disease to bloom, even in dry air. Harvest becomes triage. You prioritize clean blocks first, hit problem zones in cool conditions, and send flagged fruit to separate tanks to control microbial activity. Even within the same varietal, harvesting for different end products changes everything. Grapes for table wine aren't treated like those bound for fortified wine or juice concentrates. High-sugar Muscat or Zinfandel destined for port-style wines might hang a week longer than their standard counterparts. That means bolder berry shrivel, higher risk of bird damage, and more volatile acid formation if not managed carefully. Likewise, if you're producing rose or white wines from red grapes, say, a same method with Syrah or Grenache will likely pick 7 to 10 days earlier than your neighbors. You're targeting acidity, not structure, and the equipment must be prepped accordingly. Press loads sorted by bricks, juice fractions managed precisely, and timing between harvest and crush kept to a minimum. Harvest isn't a single operation, it's a dynamic choreography across machines, crews, trucks, tanks, and microclimates. You must balance quality against logistics, rightness against weather, and instinct against data. And once the first vine is cut, the entire system is in motion. There's also no margin for error in bin management. Whether you're loading macro bins, gondolas, or lugs, the physical handling of the grapes must reflect your harvest goals. If the load is too deep, the weight of the upper fruit crushes the lower layers, especially with thin-skinned varieties like Zinfandel or Thompson seedless. Pressure leads to juice release, and with juice comes rapid microbial colonization. For white varieties, this can result in volatile acidity spikes even before the grapes reach the press. For reds, early juice exposure may lead to premature fermentation if ambient yeasts are present. That's why managing bin fill height, truck vibration, and transit duration isn't a footnote, it's a critical step in preserving the character of your vintage. Once in the winery or packing facility, your decisions during harvest cascade forward. Cold soaking time, yeast strain selection, skin contact, duration, they all depend on the fruit's state when it arrives. If your clusters are bruised or oxidized, you'll adjust sow levels to compensate. If the berries are intact and cold, you preserve native character and lower chemical input. You know this already. Harvest is where wine is made or lost. Every stressor the fruit experiences in that narrow window from vine to tank shapes what happens next. And that's as true for 5,000 litres of Pinot Gris as it is for 300 tonnes of bulk Chardonnay. For table grape growers, the calculus changes, but the stakes remain. Cosmetic quality defines price. Harvest too early, and the fruit lacks sweetness and flavour density. Too late, and you risk soft berries, stem browning, or cracked skins. Sorting becomes more labour-intensive. Retail buyers are unforgiving when it comes to size uniformity, bloom integrity, and righteous freshness. This means your cutting crews must be trained not just in speed, but in selectivity. A single mouldy berry can tank an entire clamshell's shelf appeal. And if you're exporting, cold chain management begins the moment fruit leaves the field. Forced air cooling, palletization, shipping temperatures all become mission critical. In operations that bridge wine and table grape production, the complexity multiplies. Harvest plans must account for market timelines, regulatory constraints, varietal peculiarities, and labor availability. You may be managing dual streams of harvesting protocols, each with its own handling procedures, pest tolerance thresholds, and post-harvest pathways. Every block, every decision, every weather report becomes part of a moving equation where precision equals profit. Weather is the wild card that no amount of planning can fully tame. In temperate zones, a heat wave can push acids down and sugars up by 2 degrees Brix in 48 hours. In wetter regions, a sudden rain event may split skins, spike botrytis, or dilute flavors irreversibly. That's why contingency planning isn't optional. It's essential. You pre-stage your bins. You confirm equipment readiness. You keep backup labor on call. You make the hard decision to pick early if the long-term quality outweighs short-term volume gains. These are the decisions that define a farmer, not just knowledge, but judgment under pressure. And when it's done, when the last cluster is cut, the final bin is hauled away, and the sun begins to drop behind the rows, you feel it. That slow exhale. The vineyard is quieter now. The vines are lighter, and all that care, from pruning in winter to thinning in summer, has finally taken shape. You see it in the fruit, yes, but also in the process, the coordination, the timing, the dozens of micro decisions made each hour. This is harvest not as an event, but as a system. It's biology and logistics, chemistry and intuition, labor and land. And when it works, when everything clicks, you've not just brought in a crop, you've fulfilled a season. The image that lingers is not the numbers on the yield sheet or the tonnage on the scale. It's the early morning mist rolling off the vines as the first crate is lifted. The quiet efficiency of harvest crews moving in rhythm. The sound of fruit falling clean into bins. The rustle of leaves. The short words spoken between rows. The sight of grape juice on gloves and boots, drying purple in the sun. These are the marks of the season, the proof of labor, and the prelude to what comes next. For every farmer who walks those rows, who watches bricks climb, who trusts instinct more than forecast, this is your moment. The harvest is short, but its echo is long. What you do today shapes what others taste next year, what the land gives back next season. You harvest not just grapes, but decisions, investments, patience, and skill. And that's what makes this work not only necessary but remarkable.